Alright everyone, going on to the Maniac remake from 2012, directed by Frank Calhoun. I think that's how you say it, Calhoun. And I know Alexander Aja, I think that's how you say his name, Aja, who the fuck knows, man? I don't speak these French languages. But he was a director for High Tension, which is a great movie, which has, I mean, despite the whole twist, I'm not going to spoil it, but it's kind of stupid when you think about it logically, but great movie with that whole French extreme horror movie movement, like along with Martyrs and Frontiers and all those movies. Such a good movie, High Tension is, and he's Alexander Aja, whatever, is the producer on this movie and like helped write the screenplay and everything. And we have Elijah Wood starring in this, which his performance in this movie, man, and he's a huge horror fan, Elijah Wood, and this is like a little bit after Lord of the Rings. Like, he was so famous with those movies, he could have fucking did whatever he wanted, and he decided to do Maniac, the remake. Like, that blows my mind, and just the remake versus the original. I'll talk about that for a little bit. I just did the remake, I mean the original, video discussion. And I didn't really mention my feelings on the remake versus the original. Usually with a remake, I can tell right away and tell people like I prefer the original or I prefer the remake. With these two, I don't know, honestly. Like, they're so different in style and tone, but like they're the same subject matter, and the remake follows the original pretty well. Like, they change a few things up, like instead of being in New York with that sleazy atmosphere and everything, this is in LA, which is the beautiful shots of LA and neon lights everywhere and stuff, which just fits the film. Like, this film is fucking stunning, the remake. Like, looking at this movie, what a beautiful movie. Obviously not the content inside of it, but just the way it's shot, and we have this whole movie is a POV shot, like 95% of it. Like, there's like one or two scenes where they show Elijah Wood like in the third person, but this whole movie is through Frank's eyes, which is just fascinating. Like, just being able to see through his eyes and see what he sees and the hallucinations he has and just like everything. Like, it almost makes you complicit in what he's doing and the killings and stuff. Like, you're inside his mind, seeing through his eyes, and there's nothing you can do about it. Like, you're just in for the ride. And I think that's so amazing the way that they did that and pulled this off. I can't think of another movie that's shot in all point of view like this. Like, just the whole movie being POV. I really can't think of one. There might be and stuff, but I'm pretty sure this is like the first horror film done like that. Pretty sure. I could be wrong. Like I said, if anyone knows another movie that was filmed all in point of view, let me know, because I'd love to check it out, because the camera work in this movie is unreal. Every shot in this movie is unreal. Like, this movie is a fucking work of art in my eyes. Absolutely. Again, not the subject matter and everything, obviously, but the way it's shot and just every scene and stuff and just everything. The fucking score in this movie is amazing. Absolutely amazing, the score in this movie. Like, I forgot who did the score. It's just some guy named, his like alias is Rob. So I never heard of him, but I'd love to hear other scores from him. It reminds me of like early like John Carpenter, like synthesizers and stuff, but like it also reminds me of like Wendy Carlos, like her stuff in like A Clockwork Orange with the synthesizers and everything. It's like a nice little mix between that. But the score is so good in this movie, and it's implemented so well that it just ups every single scene that the score is in, which it's a lot of it. Like, there's a lot of music in this movie. And just Elijah Wood's performance in this, excellent. He does such a great job portraying Frank Zito in this movie. And that's another difference between Joe Spinell's performance in the original and Elijah Wood's in this one. is I was hinting at it towards, in the original video. I feel like Elijah Wood's performance in this and the way they portray him as Frank, I feel like he's a lot more mentally ill. Where like Joe Spinell's character portrayal of Frank is more like a tortured soul. Just like more emotional, like more emotionally fucked up. In this movie, like Elijah Wood's performance, like we even see him taking medication and stuff, and like because we can see through his eyes, we see like his hallucinations, like he's like schizophrenic almost. And the way that they change that up just a little bit, and it begs the question that I was asking in the video for the first Maniac, is he in control this whole time while he kills and everything? Because he has calculated moves in this too, just like Spinell's character Frank did in the first movie. But I don't know, I feel like he's more mentally ill in this movie and more obsessive. Like especially his relationship with Anna and how he obsesses over her. And they introduce Anna a lot earlier in this movie than in the original. And just the way, I'll get into that whole thing with him. But we have opening up with him, Frank just stalking people on the sidewalk and everything, and just follows this woman home, and just we get that awesome shot with the POV of him looking into the rearview mirror and seeing his eyes and everything, and then the score kicks in, and dude, the music in this movie, it's so fucking good. And then she shows up at the apartment right behind the girl and says like, please don't scream, you're so beautiful. And she goes to scream and she gets like a tiny little scream out, and he fucking stabs her right through the mouth, and you see the knife through inside of her mouth and everything. And then just the way that he like caresses her face with the knife still in her and everything is so fucking terrifying, dude. Like that is so creepy. The way he just caresses her and everything. And then he just pulls the knife out, and then he just scalps her, and then she just falls down and stuff out of frame, and he's holding the scalp there, and then just the title card comes up, Maniac. And what a fucking opening, man. Like that's how you open a fucking movie. Like Jesus, so good. But then, like I was saying, like how calculated he is. Like when he's on the dating site talking to Lucy and everything, and she asks for a picture. Like he's scrolling through his pictures and stuff, and then he has two pictures. He has one with him smiling, and he has another one that he looks a little more creepy in, and like just like a quiet, reserved person. And he picks the one with him smiling. So he made a conscious, choice there of picking the right picture to make him look more normal. So again, is he that calculated, and everything that he says and does is an act, or does he get taken over by just this urge that he can't control? And I'll get more into that, but it's so fascinating the way that both actors in the original and in this portray the character in different ways. Like it's really, really awesome. And then we get a cool little callback to the first Maniac when he meets Lucy and stuff in the restaurant, and she's like, you're not what I expected, and he's like, what did you expect? And she's like, just like a fat, long, black-haired guy with greasy skin, which is obviously like describing Frank from the first movie. That's such a cool callback. And like I said, we get to see throughout this whole movie through Frank's eyes, like with his hallucinations and stuff, and just like I said, like a schizophrenic. I forget if they mention in this movie that he is schizophrenic. I don't think they do, but it's basically like he's schizophrenic when he's looking around the restaurant, and then everyone's looking at him. Then he starts freaking out and stuff, and then he looks at Lucy, and there's blood dripping down her face and everything, and he has to excuse himself to go to the bathroom, and we see him taking medication. So that's why I feel like in this movie that he's more on the like severe mental illness side than like the emotional fucked up side. I mean, of course, fucking Frank in the original is totally mentally out there too. It's hard to describe. Like you get what I'm saying, kind of, right? Like I feel like they play it off like he's more severely mentally ill in this movie. and that's why he's taking medication and he gets the migraines and everything like that. Like, kind of showing that maybe he's not in control when he goes into kill mode. But then again, like I said, he does calculated things, like with the picture and everything. But then he's more obsessive over Anna and everything in this movie than Frank was in the first movie. So just the watching these back to back, which I actually watched out of order for the first time in a long time. Like, I haven't seen this remake in 4 or 5 years, something like that. But I've seen the original a lot more than that. But I forgot how fucking great this remake is. Like, this is one of the greatest remakes in horror, in my opinion. Like, especially after this rewatch. Like, I loved this when I saw it the first time when it came out. Watching it again, though, this time, absolutely. Like, this is one of the greatest remakes in horror that I can think of. Like, absolutely phenomenal. Just like I said, the whole way that it's filmed and everything through the POV and just trapping you inside Frank's mind and forcing you to see what he sees and think what he thinks, and like I said, being almost complicit in everything he does. It was such a risk for them to take. Like, for them to shoot this all in POV was a huge risk, and it absolutely paid off, like 100%. And then we have the scene with Lucy and stuff. That whole scene with Goodbye Horses playing, which immediately everyone thinks Silence of the Lambs. But the way that they use that song in this whole scene is amazing. Like, it plays so well into the scene, just having that song play in the background and everything. And sure, it probably was a nod to Silence of the Lambs, but like, it works on its own. Like, when I saw that scene for the first time, like, yeah, you think of Silence of the Lambs, how can you not? But like, I didn't look at it as like they're ripping off Silence of the Lambs. Like, it works in this scene so well. And then like her trying to give him a blowjob and stuff, and like, I feel like they show that he's a lot more sexually repressed in this movie than the Frank in the original, because he's just like no interest at all in anything sexual with these women or anything. And it's like, dude, Lucy's so fucking hot in this movie, and like, she's fucking gorgeous, man. And it's just like, blows my mind that like, fuck killing, man. I'd fuck her, fucking. Like, this girl's gorgeous. But I guess that's what makes him a maniac. Fucking, it's just, that has no appeal to him. It's just something takes over, or he's with it the whole time, but he just has this urge to kill that he can't control. And just strangling her and everything, and then scalping her. The gore in this movie is unreal. Like, absolutely unreal. It looks so realistic, like almost to like a scary degree. Like, some of the kills in this movie, and like the scalpings, and just like the effects in this movie. Like, I love practical effects. I say that all the time on this channel. I'm a huge advocate for practical effects in horror movies. I feel like every person making a horror movie, especially like slashers and stuff like that, should use practical to as much of an extent that they can. Then if you want to touch it up with CGI and stuff, that's fine. But like, to me, nothing beats practical effects. The effects in this movie, I don't even know how they did some of this shit. like Tom Savini is like one of my fucking idols when it comes to like filmmaking and stuff, and just the effects that he does in all the movies. And like, I've heard a lot of interviews with Savini, so like, I know how he pulls off a lot of his effects. And like how he always says, he describes them as magic tricks. You know, like, you're pulling a magic trick off on camera. And like, even when he was talking about Friday the 13th, when Marcy's kill in the bathroom with the axe, and he says that like, just like making it in your mind, putting it in your mind that this is a real axe. Like, when you get the shot of the axe hitting the light, that's a real axe. But then when it makes you like see and feel the weight of the axe through the screen, like knowing it's a real axe. So then when you get the shot of the axe in Marcy's face, it makes it feel more real, even though it's a fake axe with, you know, makeup and everything. But just how he always described effects making and stuff is like magic tricks. I have no idea how they did some of the effects in this movie. Like, it is so realistic looking. Like I said, to like a almost scary degree, man. Like, God, some of the fucking effects in this movie, man. The kills are unreal. And then, again, like with him, like I said in the first movie with Frank, like, is he in control? Because right after he kills Lucy, he actually goes and pukes in the toilet. So, like, he's, like, horrified by his actions and what he did and everything. So, like, that begs the question again, like, is he in control? Or does something just take over? Does his mental illness take over? And I think that they pull that off so well in this. Like, again, like, leaning towards more that he's just mentally sick. Like, he's suffering from severe mental illness. Versus just, like, more emotional trauma for the Frank in the original. Like, it's so interesting just watching both of these movies back to back. Especially watching this one, then going back to the original, which I've never done. Watching them out of order like that. Such interesting watches. Because he even says the same as like in the original and stuff. Like, look what you made me do. Like, look what you made me do. I hate you and stuff. Like, is he talking to his like other personality that takes over? Is he talking to his mother? Like his whole, relationship with his mom and being abused and watching her, take all these men home and being a prostitute and everything. Like, it's open for interpretation, but it's so fascinating. Like, just like thinking inside this person's head and trying to understand why he's the way he is. Why he's the way he is. I don't know why I fucked that up. But like, just his thoughts and mental process and like just trying to figure out why he kills and stuff. Like, it's so interesting. But like I said, like, he pukes and stuff, like this sickens him what he did. So like, is he with it when he does his killings, or is he with it the entire time and he just can't control it? But then like when it's over, it sickens him. Like, it's so well done. It's so well done in this movie and in the original. But I don't know. I feel like it's more developed in this movie. Just the way that, especially with the POV throughout the whole movie. Like I said, we're seeing through his eyes and everything, which you don't get to see in like any other movie revolving around serial killers or psychopaths and stuff like that. This is a unique movie, man, that you just are seeing through his eyes the entire time. And like hearing his thoughts and seeing his hallucinations and the things that he sees. You don't get to see that, like, in any other type of movie like this. Like, they did so fucking well shooting this movie. And I remember Elijah Wood saying in an interview and stuff that he had to be on set every single day, which is unusual for an actor and stuff. Like, he had to be there working with the head of photography and everything, the DP, like, for the entire movie. Like, every day he was there on set, which had to be so hard to film this movie like this. And then we have the whole thing with the mannequins and stuff, which the relevance of the mannequins and like the prevalence of them in this movie is a lot more than in the original. Like, I feel like they play on the mannequins much more in this movie than in the original Maniac. Like, in the original, Frank was just, had these mannequins around, and he would just, nail the scalps to their heads and basically thinking he's preserving them and stuff. In this one, Frank, like, restores these mannequins and stuff. Like, it's like a huge part of his life. Like, he restores them, he owns the store and everything, which again begs the question of, he says when Anna and him meet for the first time and she's taking pictures of the mannequins and stuff, he says that this is his mother's store and that they've been restoring these mannequins for 3 generations. Now, is this bullshit and just part of his act? I don't know, because I mean, his mom was a prostitute. Like, we straight up see flashback scenes and stuff that she was a complete prostitute. So the idea that she ran this mannequin store is very unlikely for me. Like, when I hear that, I'm like, yeah, but she was like a drug addicted prostitute. So I do not see her running this store. Especially that, like, I mean, you can argue that maybe it was his father and stuff like that, but no, it's her name on the front of the store, or what we think is her name. That's what Frank tells Anna in this movie. So, like, is it all bullshit? Probably. But then how did he get this store? And, like, they never really go into that. But, like, again, it just leaves it to you, I guess, us to interpret it. That is this just all part of his bullshit act? Probably, most likely, because like I said in the last video, with serial killers, psychopaths, they lie all the time. They manipulate all the time. So you can't believe a word that comes out of Frank's mouth. In this movie or the original, like, you have to take everything with a complete grain of salt. Absolutely. And I said in the last video, I said I love how they like switched up how he puts the scalps on the mannequins. Like in the first one, he's nailing them to the mannequins' heads, and this one he's using the staple gun. And like just him, like just the scene with him like stapling Lucy's scalp to the mannequins and stuff, and like just taking so much care with it, and talking to the mannequin and just like stapling, and then like he gets to like the third thing, it's just one more and stuff. Like it might hurt a little bit, like so depraved, so fucking crazy, man. Like, and just like the whole idea of the mannequins in this movie, like I feel like they made the mannequins more prevalent to the story in this. I mean, because in the end, when he's getting ripped apart and stuff, he has the mannequin face underneath him. And he's so in love with these mannequins that I feel that they made it more prevalent to try to show how he feels inside. Like why he's connected, so like has such a connection with these mannequins. Because they're just mannequins. They're fake. Like there's no heart, there's no soul in these things, and that's exactly how he feels about himself. That there's like he has no soul, like he's empty inside. And I think that's the whole idea behind the ending and stuff, with him having a mannequin face underneath his face when they tear his face off. I'm pretty sure that's what they were hinting at, because it makes complete sense. And if that is what they were hinting at, amazing job, like so good. And we get like the explanation for the whole scalp thing and why he takes the scalps, because we see a flashback of him brushing his mother's hair when he was a child, and it seems like that's the only like good memory of his mother, because every other memory is her going out as a prostitute and fucking all these guys and all that type of shit, and abusing him, having him hide in the closet just like in the first movie. So like we get a little bit more backstory on why he takes the scalps of his victims and stuff. It's his memory of brushing his mother's hair, which I thought was an excellent inclusion for this remake. And man, Anna is so beautiful in this movie. What a gorgeous woman. And I like how they switched her up, and I'm sure they picked a French actress, because Alexandra Aja, or Aja, whatever, you know what the fuck I'm talking about, is French and everything. So I'm sure that's why they picked a French actress for this movie, but she does awesome in this movie. Such a good performance. And then just like how they dive into just how sick this whole situation is and how sick this guy is and stuff. I feel like they delve into it more than in the original. Like with him laying in bed with the mannequins, and there's flies everywhere from the scalps and the blood and stuff like that, and he's spraying fucking like bug spray to get rid of the flies, like, and saying like this is disgusting as he sprays the fucking can and stuff. That's so fucking sick, dude. You imagine like laying in bed with a fucking mannequin with a human scalp on it, and like flies are everywhere and shit, but like you can live that way? Like the only thing that you do is just spray bug spray at it? Like, oh dude, they portray his fucking psychopath side and his just being a fucking maniac, like just out of his mind so well in this movie. Just like the original. But I don't know, and I keep going back, like I said at the beginning of this video, like, do I prefer the remake or the original? I don't know, man. Like, I think this is like one of the very few movies, like the original versus the remake, that I can't pick. Like, I view them so differently, even though they are so similar, but I view them so differently in just like the style of each one is so different. Like, this is such a gorgeous film. Like I said, like, excluding the content matter and everything and what goes on in it, the way it's shot, the lighting, the whole POV camera thing. Like, every shot in this movie is fucking excellent, and the score is excellent, and just the setting being changed to LA with just the nightlife and the fucking neon lights everywhere and stuff. It's a beautifully shot film. Where in the original, it just captures that griminess of New York City in the 80s and, you know, late 70s, early 80s, and just the sleaziness of it all. Like, it's, so they have very different feels. I don't think I can pick between them. Like I said, I think this is one of the greatest remakes ever. Absolutely. Like, especially after this last rewatch. But I don't think I can pick a favorite. I think they're right on the same level with each other. Like, and which is an amazing feat for the people, you know, for making this remake. Absolutely amazing that they were able to make a remake that matches the original, but doesn't outdo it for me, or isn't lackluster compared to the original for me. Like, they're right on the same page for being so different. I don't know, it's so well done. Excuse me. And then I love that the whole thing with his obsession with Anna and stuff. Like, that's so much more fleshed out in this movie than the original. Like, with him, just like, he actually plays it off like he's in love with her. Like, he's obsessed over her. Like, all the other victims of his and stuff were just like child's play, to reference the franchise I just did. But like, once he gets his sights fixed on Anna, it's like, that's it. Like, this is the woman he's been looking for. And it's just the way they play off all that is so amazing. And like, when he's going in his van and he's like on the streets and stuff, and then like the cop tells him, you gotta move and I'll give you a citation and stuff, he's following in his mind Anna, but then it changes to a different woman. And just seeing everything through his eyes like that is amazing. And then we have the subway scene just like the original, and the neon lights and stuff down there, and it's so gorgeously shot. And then it gets to the parking lot, and again, like, the calculation, like, he takes the shovel and stuff and wedges it between the gate so that it can't be opened, and then hides under the car and stuff. And oh man, when he cuts her Achilles tendon and she falls to the ground and her like ankle snaps and shit. Oh, that looks so brutal, man. That's so fucking brutal. Oh, because even if she got away, you're fucked. Like, you can't walk ever again. Like, you get your Achilles tendon fucking cut, like, you can't walk. Like, forever, you're done. So even if she just survived, fucking, she's fucked. But like, and then he just stabs her, man, over and over again, which is so brutal looking. Like, what a brutal stabbing scene. And then, interestingly, this is one of the few scenes in the movie that it pans out of the POV, and we see the killing happening from a third-person point of view. Like, we see Frank stabbing her. So that always makes me think, is that supposed to show that he's not in control? That, like, he's seeing himself doing the killings? And, like, that, like, something just takes over? Or is that just a stylistic choice? Like, you can go either way with it, but, like, when you think back to, like, the scene with Lucy, that's not in third person, that's in first person. That's through his eyes. So, like, I don't know what they meant by that, by like panning out and having it be in the third person for that scene. Like, in a way, it makes me think and adds to me thinking that he's not in control and just something takes over and like maybe he blacks out or something. But then the whole meticulousness to him and the calculated decisions and everything leading up to the kills contradict that. And just, it's such an amazing character study, and in this and the original. But we find out he says that his mother died a year ago in this movie, where Frank's mom he killed like years before that. So it's interesting how they changed that. But then again, who knows? Because everything this guy says it could be a fucking lie. It could be just another manipulation and stuff. So like, did she really just die a year ago? I have no idea. Maybe. But then, like he said, that it was her mannequin store and everything. And I said, there's no fucking way that was her store with the backstory we get on the type of woman she was. Unless she cleaned up and everything and stuff, which I doubt. Because if she did and everything, and you think that they would mend some wounds and stuff, I mean, sure, he's still going to be completely fucked up from everything that happened in his childhood with her. But there's no way she owned that mannequin store. Like, no way. So I don't know if she really died a year ago in this. But then we get like his migraines and stuff, which just plays more into the severe mental illness that he suffers from. And just he gets these migraines, and we get to see it through his eyes, how just like the lighting gets fucking brighter and brighter. Anyone who's ever had a migraine, watching this movie, like, they did a great job capturing like what it's like to have a migraine. Like, especially like an ocular migraine, like with aura and stuff, like where you could see it. Like, they did a great job portraying that. And he even rushes to the pharmacy. And like, because first, like when you first see this movie, when I first did, I was thinking of these really migraines, or this is just him like freaking out, or like hallucinations and stuff. But he goes to the pharmacy and he gets a nasal spray for migraines, like specifically for migraines. And he's like immediately squirts it up his nose, and like people are looking at him in the pharmacy and stuff. Like, the whole migraine thing is so interesting. And then we get more background on the mom and stuff, just seeing in flashbacks and of her taking the two men home while he's in the closet, and she's sniffing coke and stuff, and then she sees him in the closet and says like, be quiet and I love you and stuff. And then who the fuck has sex with the mother on the side of a street right in front of their little child? Like, come on, really? Like, dude, I mean, it's fucked up. I'm sure it's happened before, like in the history of human beings, but that's so sick, man. Like, it's her saying like, go wait in the car and stuff, and like she's getting just plowed against the fucking beam and stuff, like by this dude. Like, what guy fucks some woman, a mother, in front of her child? Like, that's so weird. And then we have the whole shot which plays more into like him being sexually repressed, like severely, like with him, with Lucy, like not wanting anything to do with getting a blowjob or anything sexual at all. Like, we see him seeing himself with like a mannequin genitals, like he has no genitals, like it's just like a mannequin piece. And like, that's such a creepy shot, man. That is such a creepy shot. Then they go to see the movie together, and it's Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, which is such a classic movie, man. And just, he starts seeing himself on screen doing the killing and stuff and scalping. I think it was like he's seeing him killing Lucy, right? Like, it looked like that. Like, it looked like clips from that scene. But whoever it was, like, I'm pretty sure it might be Lucy, but he's seeing himself on screen killing and scalping and stuff. And then like people in the movie theater are looking at him and stuff, and just the way that they portray his inner thoughts and hallucinations and stuff in this movie is unreal, man. And then like Anna, I mean, like I said, I love Anna in this movie, and like she's like the only good thing in this movie, like the only pure thing. But in a way, like, she's leading him on this whole time. Like she goes on a date with him, she's flirting with him and stuff, and like asking him in the park, like, what does your girlfriend think? And like, he's like, I don't have a girlfriend. And she's like, oh really? And stuff like that. Then she lays it on him after a phone call that her boyfriend is having drinks at a bar, and let's go have a drink with him and stuff. Like, come on, really? Like, you have to lead this fucking psychotic guy on and stuff. Like, that's fucked up. But like that whole scene with the art show is gorgeous. Like, just the whole way, just like the whole rest of this film, the whole way that it's shot, the lighting, just the cinematography, everything about that whole art scene, the art show and everything is amazing. It looks so good. Then how he follows Rita home and stuff, like after she like insults him basically with the I always thought the whole mannequin thing was creepy and everything, and he follows her home and then drowns her and stuff, or before he like takes her out of the tub and everything, with the opera music playing in the background. Such a cool scene, looks so good. Then with him talking to her on the bed and stuff like that, and right before he scalps her, and he's saying, I told you not to go out tonight, and like, I told you not to go out tonight. And dude, just the way he rips her scalp off and she screams, that's fucking brutal, man. Oh, that is so fucking crazy looking. Like, oh, the way that they did the effects in this movie, man. Then we get him, just like Frank in the first movie, in the original, of him talking to his child mannequin that he made, modeled after childhood, child him. And him saying, like, I know I miss her too, I'm going to get her back and stuff. And is he talking about Anna? He's talking about his mom, in a way, obviously, because he's talking to the child version of himself. So, like, it's so interesting how they play these characters so differently between the original and in this movie. Then him going to console Anna and everything, and then in the first movie, like, Frank gives it away that he's a killer, that he's off and stuff, by saying, like, Rita knew and stuff to Anna in the cemetery. But then this one, he fucks up, and he says that Rita, after she finds out that Rita's been killed and stuff, and he comes over, he fucks up by saying that she lived 3 blocks away. And Anna gives him a look, man, like, fucking, how the hell did you know that? But then it does, like, something that doesn't make sense to me is when she said, like, when he mentions the other girls, and then says, like, it's been all over the news and stuff, that's what freaks her out. And she said the police didn't say anything about other girls. But it's in the news. Like, we see when he's on the train or subway, whatever it is, that it's somebody reading a newspaper saying that, like, serial killer on the loose or something like that, or cops looking for serial, or something like that. So, like, I don't know why that's what freaked her out more than him knowing where Rita lived. Like, I feel like that reveal would have been fine with just knowing where Rita lived. Like, I don't get the whole other girl thing, because that's more easy to explain away than his bullshit of knowing where Rita lived, because there is an investigation going on about the murders and everything that he's been committing. So I don't know, that doesn't make sense to me. And then just, dude, the fucking effects in this movie, like when she's fighting him off with the knife and she just stabs him right through the hand, and he turns his hand over and the blood starts coming out of it, looks so good. Then the neighbor, when he comes in and he gets the cleaver right in his fucking face, like right here, and just falls to the ground, that looks so fucking good, man. Oh, that looks so brutal. And then when he ends up, kidnapping her and puts her in the back of his van and takes her back to his apartment. And then as soon as he opens the door, she stabs him in the chest with the mannequin hand and stuff. That looks awesome too. Like, all the gore in this movie. Then just the shot of her, like, after she gets in the car and runs him over and then crashes and she goes flying out of the car, like out the windshield. What an awesome shot that is. That looks so fucking good. That's such a great shot. Then is him, this is him being completely obsessed with this woman, which they play on much more in this movie, like much more than in the first one. And that's why I lean more towards that he is just severely mentally ill in this movie. Like, much more than the Frank we see in the original. Like a medical diagnosis type way. Like, he is most likely schizophrenic and just completely obsessive, because he's saying to her, like, when she's dying on the ground, like, I loved you, like, I still love you, and like, I never touched you, not once, I never laid a hand on you, and like, bringing her back after he scalps her and bringing her back, dressed like his bride and the mannequin and stuff. Like, oh, it's so sick, man, but it's so good at the same time. And then the whole ending thing, which is the mannequins come to life, just like in the end of the first movie, but it's done very differently. Like, earlier in the film, like when he sees like Lucy, like when he makes the mannequin, and he even takes such care to put the lip ring in, so it looks just like Lucy, and like puts the scalps on him and stuff like that. But like then Lucy comes to life in his eyes. But like when they all come to life in his hallucination at the end here, they all, like, their brains are exposed, like their scalps are missing. So like, I don't know what that's about. I guess that's just him seeing all the chaos that he caused and everything that he's done coming back to haunt him. I guess, because like, and it looks gnarly too, man. Like the way that with their fucking brains exposed and everything. Like, oh, the effects in this movie, man. Then just tearing his legs off and his arm off and pulling his intestines out of his stomach. Then just doing the whole thing with ripping his face right off, the skin right off his face. And dude, I don't know how they did some of this shit. Like I said, it looks so realistic. It's unbelievable. Like the effects in this, I gotta look up who did the effects in this movie, because it blew me away the first time I saw it, and every time I've seen it since. Absolutely phenomenal. And just, do we see the mannequin underneath, which I explained earlier is what I think about it. And just do the music through that whole ending scene when they come to life and then they start fucking killing them and everything. Unbelievable. Like, I cannot say enough about the score in this movie. It's so fucking good. And then just like the first movie where the SWAT team, like this time it's the SWAT team comes in and they find him just dead in the corner and stuff. So again, presumably killed himself just from like going out of his mind completely at the end and having these hallucinations. That's what I take from it. Then in both movies, that he basically, Frank kills himself because of this insane degree of hallucination that he just can't take it anymore and just ends his life. Man, what a dark fucking movie. The same with the original, but they're so fucking good and they're so great in different ways. But like I said, this is by far one of the greatest remakes ever. Like, not even just horror, like ever. It's so beautifully shot. The score is amazing. The whole POV for the entire movie, like the majority of it, it was so risky and it paid off in spades. And I can't say enough about this remake. But alright guys, that wraps up the two Maniac films, and I have another mommy issue movie for later, Don't Go in the House from 1979, which is another phenomenal movie. That's one of my favorite. I mean, it's from I see it from both years. Like, people say 1979 and others say 1980. Pretty sure it released first in 79, but I still consider it like an 80s slasher in a way. But even then, it's not like a full-on slasher, but we'll talk about that with that. If you haven't seen Don't Go in the House and you see this before I get that video up later, it's on Tubi also. Absolutely watch it. Very Psycho-esque in a bunch of different ways, but such a great movie. So yeah, Don't Go in the House, 1979, will be next later tonight. Alright guys, take care.